The jet sat motionless on the tarmac at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, its engines silent as confusion rippled through the cabin. From her office overlooking the runway, Amara Thompson's fingers hovered over her phone, a grim smile tugging at her lips. She had just sent a company-wide directive that would shake Coastal Airways to its core. Below, security personnel escorted the entire flight crew off the plane, their faces a mix of shock and indignation. It had all started with a boarding pass, a small piece of paper that sparked a revolution. Amara leaned back in her chair, watching the scene unfold, her mind racing with the weight of what she'd set in motion. Let's rewind to that morning in July 2026, when Amara, a 42-year-old tech titan and CEO of Horizon Dynamics, stepped into the chaos of her latest battle. Her sleek Houston penthouse gleamed under the dawn's light as she packed her custom leather briefcase for a pivotal trip to Seattle. At 5 a.m., the city skyline glowed faintly outside her window, a reminder of how far she'd come from her roots in Oakland's toughest neighborhoods. Her tailored charcoal suit hugged her frame, her braided hair swept into a polished bun, every detail deliberate, a shield against a world that often questioned her place in it. All set for Seattle? Her assistant, Nia, asked, handing her a tablet with the day's schedule. As ready as 9 months of prep can make me, Amara replied, her eyes scanning the itinerary. The merger talks with Quantum Solutions could propel Horizon Dynamics to a $4 billion valuation, a leap from the cybersecurity startup she'd built from her garage 15 years earlier. Amara's journey hadn't been easy. Raised by a single mother who juggled 2 jobs, she'd clawed her way through underfunded schools, earning a full ride to Stanford despite the odds. There, as one of the few Black women in computer engineering, she faced constant skepticism about her abilities. But those challenges forged her resilience. When investors scoffed at her AI-driven security platform, calling it niche, she poured her savings into it, working grueling 20-hour days until a major defense contract put Horizon Dynamics on the map. Her systems now safeguarded everything from ports to power grids, and her face had graced Fast Company's cover. Yet, no amount of success could insulate her from moments like the one awaiting her. Her driver weaved through Houston's morning traffic as Amara reviewed her merger pitch one last time. The deal wasn't just about growth. It would fund her Dreama Tech Academy in Oakland to give kids like her younger self a shot at the future. At the airport, she strode toward the first-class lounge, her heels clicking with purpose on the polished floor. The lounge attendant's smile wavered as he glanced at her. ID and membership card, please, he said, though her Platinum Elite card was already on the counter. It's right there, Amara replied, her voice calm but firm, masking the familiar sting of scrutiny. Inside, the pattern continuado waiter served white executives promptly while Amara waited 10 minutes for her latte, the order repeated back as if she'd misspoken. She sipped her drink, noting the ease with which a white businessman in a similar suit was welcomed, no questions asked. These slights were routine, but she'd learned to save her energy for bigger fights. When the boarding call for Flight 942 to Seattle crackled over the speaker, Amara gathered her belongings and headed to the gate, mentally rehearsing her merger strategy. The first-class line moved swiftly, but when she handed her boarding pass to the gate, a gentle young woman with a sharp bob, she felt the familiar weight of extra inspection. First class? The agent asked, studying the pass longer than necessary. Yes, Amara said, meeting her gaze. The agent hesitated, then scanned it. Enjoy your flight, Miss Thompson. On the Boeing 787, Amara made her way to seat 3B, a window pod in the luxurious first-class cabin with plush taupe leather and walnut accents. Most passengers, mostly white men in suits, were already settled, typing on laptops or sipping pre-flight drinks. A few glanced her way, their eyes flickering with that subtle surprise she'd grown used to. She stowed her briefcase and settled in, ready to tackle emails during the 5-hour flight. But before she could open her laptop, a voice cut through the hum of the cabin. "Excuse me, ma'am," said a flight attendant, Lisa Carter, her blonde hair pulled into a tight bun, her smile professional but cold. "I need to verify your seat assignment. Can I see your boarding pass again?" Amara's jaw tightened, but she retrieved the pass from her bag, handing it over without a word. The cabin grew quieter, heads turning. Lisa examined the pass with theatrical care. And this is for this flight. Not an old one. Amara's pulse quickened, but her face remained a mask of calm. Flight 942, seat 3B, scanned 10 minutes ago, she said evenly. Across the aisle, a man in his late 50s, graying hair, Rolex glinting, watched with curiosity. I'm Ethan Caldwell, Meridian Capital. He introduced himself, his tone friendly but tinged with intrigue. Heading to the tech summit. Before Amara could respond, Lisa cut in. Sir, I'll get your drink order in a moment. Turning back to Amara, she added, our system shows a possible mix-up with this seat. I need to ensure there wasn't an upgrade error. Amara's voice hardened. I booked this seat a month ago through my corporate travel team. There's no error. Another flight attendant, Marcus Reed, joined Lisa, leaning in with a hushed tone that carried to nearby seats. Is there a problem with this passenger? Amara's eyes narrowed. The only problem is your assumption I don't belong here. I'm Amara Thompson, CEO of Horizon Dynamics. I fly first class weekly. Check your manifest again. Marcus's smile was patronizing. Ma'am, it's about weight and balance. We just need to confirm. Amara noted that no other passengers were being questioned. Ethan was already sipping a whiskey, no ID requested. Then confirm everyone's seats with the same diligence, she said, her tone icy. Lisa and Marcus exchanged glances, then asked for her driver's license, scrutinizing it like a forged document. The cabin was now a stage, every passenger watching. Amara sat tall, her composure unshaken, though her blood boiled. This wasn't about a seat. It was a public challenge to her right to exist in this space. After a tense pause, Lisa made a call from the galley phone. Moments later, the cockpit door opened, and Captain Daniel Hayes emerged, his presence commanding but his tone patronizing. What's the issue here? He asked. Lisa handed him Amara's documents. We're verifying seat 3B. The system flagged a potential duplicate. Amara's voice cut through. My boarding pass was issued by your airline and scanned at your gate. There's no duplicate. The captain checked a tablet, then said, Ms. Thompson, it seems there may have been a glitch. To avoid delaying the flight, could you take a seat in premium economy for now? We'll sort it out in the air. Ethan interjected. Is this necessary? Your system would have flagged a duplicate at check-in. The captain dismissed him with a tight smile. We're handling it, sir. Amara's patience snapped. Years of enduring microaggressions, of staying silent to preserve her image, crystallized into a single thought, enough. She pulled out her phone and dialed. What are you doing? Lisa asked, alarm creeping into her voice. Making a call, Amara said calmly. Brace for impact. She spoke into the phone. Zoe, activate Protocol Phoenix now. Coastal Airways, Flight 942, Houston to Seattle. Full documentation. The crew exchanged confused looks as she ended the call and stood, retrieving her briefcase. I'm deplaning, she announced. You'll want to prepare for what's next. As she strode down the jetway, whispers trailed her. Should we stop her? Lisa hissed to the captain. Let her go, he replied. We'll depart once the door's secure. They had no idea what was coming. 8 months earlier, Horizon Dynamics had acquired a 19% stake in Coastal Airways, making Amara the airline's largest individual shareholder. The board had welcomed her investment, though they'd whispered about what a tech CEO wanted with an airline. Now they'd find out. Back in the terminal, Amara called Coastal's CEO, Victor Langston. Victor, it's Amara Thompson. Your crew just removed me from my first-class seat because they couldn't believe a black woman belonged there, despite my valid boarding pass and platinum status. Your captain suggested I sit in economy to avoid delaying the flight. Victor's voice was cautious. Are you saying they discriminated against you? Amara's tone was steel. I'm saying I lived it. And in 20 minutes, when my team's footage goes viral, the world will see it too. It was a bluff. Zoe wasn't on the flight, but it landed. What do you want? Victor asked. The entire crew suspended pending investigation, a formal apology, and a company-wide review of your diversity training, reported to the board where I now sit. She added, you have 15 minutes, or I hold a press conference right here. Within minutes, Victor's general counsel called, followed by the head of operations, assuring her actions were being taken. From the terminal's floor-to-ceiling windows, Amara watched as the jetway reconnected to the plane. Security escorted the crew off, their faces pale with disbelief. Passengers began deplaning, some filming the chaos. Ethan Caldwell approached her. What's going on? They're saying the flight's delayed for a crew change. Amara's eyes stayed on the tarmac. Justice is happening, Mr. Caldwell. Sometimes it takes a while, but it shows up. A coastal executive, Karen Mitchell, vice president of operations, approached, her face tight with urgency. Ms. Thompson, I'm deeply sorry for what happened. The crew's on administrative leave, and we're bringing in a standby crew. We're offering a full refund, complimentary upgrades for your next 5 flights, and a thorough investigation. Amara shook her hand firmly. I'm more interested in systemic change than apologies. The diversity review I mentioned make it happen. Karen nodded, promising the CEO would follow up. As they waited in the private lounge, Ethan lingered. You've got some serious influence to pull this off, he said, awe in his voice. Amara met his gaze. It's not about influence. It's about why I should ever have to use it. The replacement crew arrived, led by a black flight attendant, Simone Carter, who greeted Amara with warmth. We'll make this right, Miss Thompson. The cabin's atmosphere was tense as passengers reboard, some nodding supportively, others muttering about the delay. All this over a seat, one man grumbled. Amara ignored him, settling into 3B. By the time the plane took off, 3 hours late, first class while black was trending with 25,000 mentions. Coastal stock dipped 4%, and a conservative pundit, Nathan Brooks, tweeted, CEO abuses power to fire hardworking crew over a misunderstanding. This isn't just a site's elitism. The narrative split. Some saw Amara as a hero, others as a bully. She scrolled through the posts, her resolve hardening. This wasn't about one flight. It was about a system that normalized indignity. In Seattle, her chief strategy officer, Marcus Tate, met her at the airport. Rough day, he said, guiding her to a waiting SUV. The merger's still on, and Quantum CEO called to say they respect your backbone. Amara nodded. This isn't just about today anymore. We're launching 3 tracks: legal, media, and corporate reform. Over the next hour, they drafted the Equity Initiative, a plan to use Horizon's data analytics to expose bias across industries, starting with airlines. They'd file a complaint with the Department of Transportation, shift the media narrative to systemic issues, and leverage Amara's shareholder power for change. The merger talks went smoothly, Quantum CEO, Sarah Nguyen, pulling Amara aside afterward. I faced the same thing on a flight 2 years ago. I didn't fight back. You did, and I'm with you. By evening, Amara's hotel suite was a war room. Her team reported that 8 executives of color had joined the Equity Coalition, sharing their own stories of discrimination. Coastal stock closed down 6%, and employee petitions demanded mandatory bias training. 3 days later, Coastal's boardroom was a pressure cooker. CEO Victor Langston faced grim-faced directors. Bookings are down 10%, shares down 8%, and the hashtags hit 4 million uses, he said. Board member Evelyn Chun, one of 3 non-white directors, spoke up. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was racial profiling, and it's resonating because it's not rare. The General Counsel announced Amara's rejection of a settlement and the coalition's formation, now pushing for industry-wide reform. Meanwhile, in Horizon's Seattle office, Amara's team presented data, 387 bias incidents across major airlines in the past year. This is our weapon, Amara said. Numbers don't lie. Her phone rang. Lisa Carter, the flight attendant. I followed protocol, Lisa pleaded. The system flagged your seat. I've got kids, a mortgage. Now I'm a racist on TV. Amara's voice was steady. Did you question any white passengers' seats? No. That's the context you're missing. Lisa's silence was heavy. By week's end, Coastal announced an independent audit and a chief equity officer role. Amara's coalition grew to 120 executives, and the Equity Index launched, rating companies on inclusion metrics. 3 months later, at the Oakland Tech Academy's opening, Amara stood before a crowd of students, families, and allies. A young girl, Mia Johnson, approached her. I want to code like you, she said shyly. Amara knelt down. Mia, you'll go further than me, and you'll open doors for others. As she boarded her return flight to Houston, Coastal's crew greeted her with genuine respect. Bias complaints were down 80%, and the Thompson Standard plaque hung in their training center. Lisa Carter had become a bias training facilitator, admitting her mistakes publicly. Ethan Caldwell, now a coalition ally, pledged $30 million to expand tech academies. The equity index showed top-scoring companies outperforming peers by 15%, proof that Dignity was good business. Amara gazed out the plane's window, reflecting on the journey. One moment of refusal had sparked a movement, but the fight wasn't over. She smiled, knowing she'd built an elevator for others to rise. What do you think? Was Amara justified in using her power to force systemic change, or did she overstep by punishing an entire crew for one incident? Should she have accepted Coastal's settlement to avoid the public firestorm, or was her refusal the only way to spark real reform? Have you ever faced a moment where you had to choose between staying silent or fighting back? How did you decide? Share your thoughts below, and if this story moved you, like, subscribe, and share to keep these conversations alive. Let's turn individual courage into collective change.